Our theme of this week is solve the fear of divorce.
I'm gonna tell you about a woman whose heart is sunshine, whose body burned hot. I'm gonna tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she moves that she cares.
Welcome to the C Note Show, everybody, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains. It's Monday, Memorial Day, May 25th on 2020. Hey, Cynthia, welcome to Monday. It's a holiday, but we're on. Say hi to the guys.
Yeah, good morning. And if you celebrate Memorial Day, happy Memorial Day to you, wherever you may be. And thank you, those of you who are here. This is, again, there's no other place I'd rather spend a holiday weekend. So thank you so much.
Yeah, and of course, respect to our fallen heroes and respect to the troops as well for today. So thank you so much for being here. Our theme of this week is solve the fear of divorce. And, one thing we want to get into is what happens when we are in a mode where we're just getting like angry or frustrated about a relationship. Gentlemen, you are here because we love relationship, we love women, but we want to know how the hell to do this in modern relationship. We want to stop fucking up. We want to grow confidence and mojo and calmness within ourselves. And we want to know exactly how to move forward. What are the tools that we can use to solve our fear of divorce and to not either collapse or run away or fly off the handle? And I love to jump into some funny clips. I've got a 15-second spot. Sheldon here. We don't want to be like Sheldon here and fly off the handle. Here we go.
Sheldon, good to see you. I can see you're upset. But when we said ditch the shells, we were talking about pistachios, not you.
Oh, you mean these pistachios? Oh, no, you look upset. You okay, John?
Can we get some arugula, please?
We don't want to be like Sheldon and fly off the handle. That's not going to be good for our relationship. And we also want no regrets. We want no regrets, like this clip from We're the Millers movie. This one's funny. Here we go. No regrets.
So, Scotty P., what exactly do you do for a living?
Oh, Mom!
I work for A&J Amusements. I'm rocking that monkey maze, you know what I'm saying?
What the hell is the monkey maze?
It's like a terrifying death trap, but for little kids.
Hey, those are cool tats, man.
Oh, for real. Thank you, bro. You see the cobra?
I mean, what is this one? What's the one right there?
Oh, this?
Uh-huh.
That's my credo. No regrets.
Mm-hmm. How about that? You have no regrets?
Dad?
Nope.
Like not even a single letter?
No way. Not me.
Dad.
Well, I love him. I think he's great.
Okay.
I think he's a real winner, Casey. If I were you, I wouldn't use protection.
No protection needed. No regrets. No regrets. No regrets. Yeah, I love it. So
That should go on the Great Men Move Mountains mug. No regrets.
yes. Oh my gosh, that's going to be another wave. We'll do hats. We got to do hats with the mountain, the no regrets across the top. Yeah, Kent's like, yeah, absolutely. I love it. Fantastic. Well, yeah, we don't want to have any regrets. So that's why we're here. We want to learn the tools about our theme of this week of how do we solve the fear of divorce, right? And so let's roll right into our starting question. She makes me so angry. I get really pissed and upset around her. My goal right now is to become more at ease and less anxious, especially when communicating with her. But I feel like I'm constantly reacting instead of responding. And I don't know how to break the cycle. Oh, wow. I can really relate to this. And 2015 was the year that I heard, I love you, but I'm not in love with you. 2015 was the year that I heard, I want a divorce. And fucking 2015 was the year that I saw a text on her phone from another man. The worst relationship year of my life, absolutely. And I found this work in the fall and September of 2015. And I found my grounding again. I mean, that entire year, I felt like it was in free fall the whole time. And so when this man says he's really pissed and upset around her, I can absolutely relate to that. There's the Hulk that I say, the shooting up the energy in the back of my neck right before I lock eyes and just get really angry about something. So for me, we shared this tool, the boardroom, over our past couple of weeks here on the show. The Hulk is a piece of me that I've had to integrate. And so, Cynthia, I want you to jump in here in a second and share vulnerably from your point of view, what's kind of a shitty response that you may have? Because my shitty response that I've had to work on is anger, coming out in anger. Mine isn't to run away or necessarily shut down. Mine was anger because of the no more Mr. Nice Guy covert contracts that, I thought if I did all the right things, I thought that if I got the car washed and I paid the bills and I worked 60 hours a week, that was going to do it, right? And I tried to be the best father that I could. I thought that was fulfilling my side of the bargain. And so I thought that meant I would have a great life and a great relationship. And we're here. This show is to bring you the reality of modern relationship. Okay. It's to give you the tools of how to understand what the hell's going on here. And a lot of us have read Robert Glover's No More Mr. Nice Guy, and our eyes, feel like they're open for the first time. And that's what September of 2015 felt like for me. And I've really had to integrate this angry part of me. We're going to show tools today of exactly how to do these things. We're going to develop it this week, how to solve the fear of divorce. So Cynthia, I'd love for you to jump in. And, we're coaches. We're one-on-one coaches. We run our private group forum with Great Men Move Mountains. And so we're not therapists that don't talk about any of our personal stuff. We share our scars. We share our scars and how to move forward and get what you want in the world and be the man that you want to be. And I had to learn how to be the man that I wanted to be. And Cynthia, you're on because men love your perspective, your feminine perspective and your one-on-one professional coaching perspective. So be vulnerable with us here. What is a kind of a shitty response or a fallback response or reaction that you don't like about your own self that you've had to work through so that men here can understand? Wait, so hold on. Are women perfect? Like, women don't ever have negative responses, right? We never are face to face with a woman who's upset or shut down. So share with us about your own self, please. Take us forward.
Oh, yes, they are perfect. They never have shitty responses.
Oh, we got some thumbs down. We got some thumbs down that's not true. Call bullshit on you. Don't play poker with us guys here. We're like, no.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be able to get away with poker ever. My background is I used to be the nice girl. And so many of the things that No More Mr. Nice Guy talks about pleasing and being so overly anxious about how someone else is reacting, responding, was very much my MO in definitely teenage years and 20s, far into the late 20s. And one way that I started to create boundary for myself is going, you know what? Don't feel like I'm being treated well in this situation, or I feel like I'm unhealthily stuck in a codependent push and pull here. And so I'm just going to drop the rope on that and leave. And part of that is really healthy. And I really encourage that in certain times in relationship. And it kind of created a pattern where even in early years with Jeff in relationship, where if I got really upset and felt, I'll vulnerably say this because, one part of your mind's going, okay, stop being dramatic. But I felt really wronged. Like the feminine in me was just like, oh, how could he say this or think this? And I would just leave. My folks actually have a townhouse in town, and there are a couple of times when I just left, and it's really, good for us to take space, but mine was definitely that, like, fine, you can't affect me. I'm going to go be in my own world and I'm going to control my own world. And that was not anything that I wanted to engage in, because my vision for a relationship was I want to be with someone who wants to sit in the fire with me. And since then have really learned how to stay put and calm the trigger of wanting to run away, which I'm incredibly grateful for, because that's so much more the relationship I want to be in and how I want to show up.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And we'll share with the guys, how did I talk with you about that? Do you recall how I talked with you about that? And I'd like for you from your point of view first, and then I'm happy to share from my point of view, because sometimes those are different. So from your point of view, how did I respond? And, just be honest here. Maybe some of it was great. Maybe some of it was not. So please.
I don't remember the words so much, but I remember your energy of just curiosity and doing kind of like, hey, I noticed that you left. I'm wondering what you were feeling. And then just being a presence to ask me my experience, to talk about it, but also to hold vision for how I could be better in relationship, how I could know that this was a safe space to talk about things. And I mean, in later conversations, you also asked me to create an anchor for myself, because there's an automatic thought sometimes if someone's angry with me, they're just going to like, what, you're too much work, whatever. And you even said to me, Cynthia, I want you to create an anchor of knowing that we are here in relationship together when that trigger comes up. And that's been incredibly grounding and helpful.
Yeah, thank you. Certainly, that was one of the most important things of staying in curiosity. And that's what I'll share with the men that are watching this. And I want to honor you guys that are here. Certainly Ian and Joseph and Kent, Patrick, Brent, Andy. You guys, I won't be able to say necessarily everyone. Joseph, like I said, and Patrick and Andy and Kent came on early and we're talking before the show, which I love. Yeah, being in curiosity was something that I needed to make sure that I was in. And let me share a quick tool here. Now, we have talked about this on the show, but I'll share this in the way we're talking now. So why am I in curiosity? Because I'm upholding the energy of the relationship, right? So there's me, there's her, and then there's the relationship that's like a baby in and of itself. It's like a business that you grow in and of itself. It's its own entity. And so why do I want to remain in curiosity first? Because I care. Because I care for the relationship, right? Versus just going into accusing, which is the persecutor role in the drama triangle, or being how could you leave and do this to me? Oh, poor me, blah, blah. And I want to be the victim. And I also don't want to come in and save you like, oh, you ran away and maybe that's what you needed and that's okay. And, tell me in the future and I'll do whatever you need. I'll do whatever you want to feel better. Is there something else I could do to make you feel better next time and not run away? That's the savior, and that's the hummingbird that Steve Horseman would say in Good Guys to Great Men, the overly pandering that we don't want to be, the nice guy that we don't want to do. So I'll share this, and then we'll talk more about the drama triangle. We're going to introduce the drama triangle today. So I did share how this affects our relationship. I said, when you leave, first of all, I'm not sure if you're okay. I'm not sure what's going on, and it worries me. Right. So this is diving into vulnerability, that it worries me. And it's disconnecting from our relationship. Right. And it's not okay that you just run away like this. Like, it's fine that you're upset. It's fine if you want to share something with me, but it's not okay that you just leave and stay gone for the whole night, which was one of the situations. Right? And so what I'm going to do, the next step is what I'm going to do and what I requested you do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to meditate on this. I'm going to take a break now that we've talked again. And I'm going to think about where we could go with this next time. And that's what I'd like you to do. And I'd like you to have an anchor for yourself, is what I asked. So basically I was showing I'm going to anchor myself, and I'd like for you to have an anchor for yourself. Cynthia, does that ring true with your thoughts? And yeah, when you left, when I slept in our bed alone that night, part of me was thinking, well, this is what she needs because she left. And part of me was thinking, it isn't okay that she leave for the entire night without saying something. So it's really the duality of both of those energies. So share with us, you felt like that was something that you needed, and yet I upheld a boundary for our relationship. And those are two different things, right? This is what you felt like you needed, and there needed to be a boundary in relationship. So share how that came across to you, please.
Yeah, it was a relief, because what I was doing was kind of an old pattern of something in my heart is hurting so much. and I'm assuming that the other person is going to think that I'm being unreasonable or dramatic or needing too much from them. So I'm going to go put myself in a space where I can just take care of myself and I don't have to risk the rejection or someone saying, you're being too much and you're wanting too much and you shouldn't be having this emotion. And so you kind of setting a boundary for that was like, oh, phew, like, here's a space where finally I don't have to live a life where I have to go take care of everything myself, that I don't have to be masculine with my emotions, that I can be in a relationship space and take space, but it's a container that's inviting me to share and be authentic.
Well, that's so incredible. Which is, I want to jump to the men and to our chat here in a second. And what's incredible that I heard there, Cynthia, is that may not have even been something that you shared with me, and you may not have been doing the behavior that you actually wanted from the vision of your relationship. So you've told me before that we don't always, and women don't always, act in a way that's congruent with the vision that they want. And that dissonance there of, I'm acting this way, but I really want this over here, is a big rift. It's a giant rift in, why don't we have what we want in life? Why do I act like this behavior, even though I want this over here? And that's what we're going to dig into today. So Cynthia, I'm going to honor our chat and our men here today. So gentlemen, I will ask you to raise your hand in the participant section in Zoom if you'd like to ask a question, or if you want to just put on the table maybe a pain that you're having in life right now. That's what we're here for, guys. This show is to let you know that you're not alone. Okay, you're not alone. There's a community of other men that are here to support you along this journey from step 1 to step 1,000 and on, right? For the rest of our whole lives. This is growth for the next 40, 50 years of our lives. And so Kent in the chat asked, Cynthia, that sounds exactly like my wife. She's had control issues, which has led to treating me like one of the kids. But she has acceptance issues also, which has led to her treating me more like her father, wanting me to be proud of her and not much in between. I know I need to create more leadership. So Cynthia and Kent, I'd love for you to open up your mics. Cynthia, what's your first reaction when he says that she's had control issues, which led to her treating Kent like one of the kids, and also she has acceptance issues, treating him like her father, wanting me to be proud of her. So what are your thoughts there initially for Kent? Please, Cynthia.
Well, I would love to first say it's such a relief when I see in the chat gentlemen sharing, oh, that's just like my wife, because there is a vulnerability and like going, oh God, I'm not supposed to, I should know better. And so it's like, okay, this serves a purpose because it's, other women struggle with this. So thank you always for sharing that. And that is such a tough place to be in, between being treated like a kid versus a dad. Neither of those are very, sexy places to be. What have you tried to kind of pull out some of the in-between energy with her, or is she so polarized that it seems really difficult?
Well, I'd say honestly, lately, in this separation, we've probably had deeper conversations than we've ever had. And it's it's a good thing. I know that, but it kind of feels almost too late, for the relationship. But I've asked her on multiple occasions, like, because she's had a hard time letting people in and truly trusting herself. She wants to create an identity, and I recognize that, to be her own person and to chase her own dreams. And she hasn't really given herself that kind of space yet. And it just feels like, I want to support her in that, but she's like I said, she's polarized between, the little girl and the adult mom, and it feels like I'm kind of stuck in the middle. And I know I haven't played a very good role in that because I've let my emotions and my nice guy personalities try to feed both at times, and haven't been, that rock in the middle to, lead the family and to help her feel safe. And she's admitted, she goes, this is the only place I don't feel safe. This is the only place I can't be me. And that's tough to hear because I I've been here for the relationship, not necessarily for myself. And so this topic this week about being afraid of divorce, that's kind of where I'm at, because I've lived my life for these four walls, and to find out that still trying to figure out where I fit within the relationship has been a little confusing, a little tough. But I'm still wanting to support her as best I can, and that's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. That I loved what you said about, I've been living here within these four walls and building this life within these four walls, and in this search of where do I fit? And I think that role is so important. I'm curious if you turn focus a little bit away from where you fit to what you are creating and where she might fit. If you two were to continue like working together in partnership, does that feel any different to you?
Maybe a little bit. And that's a little bit confusing in itself too, because I've been trying to focus on myself here the last, call it 3 months. And I've approached it kind of the same mindset I always have, of wherever the cards fall, they fall. But me trying to better myself in the moment is kind of where I need to be. But I've been reflecting over the last 15 years of the relationship and recognizing, I have been reactive to 95% of everything that's happened. I've always, had the mindset of, if mama ain't happy, no one's happy, and tried to not necessarily fix things, but I've just kind of held her up, in a sense. And that's not really what she wants. I think she's exhausted, and it's hard for me to better the situation at this point.
Yeah. What I'm curious, as you were watching Jeff, as he was saying about his, how in his masculinity he led and took steps when I was being the like woman who was, trying to control and run away. What did you notice that he did that kind of maybe hit home with you?
I think what I've noticed from Jeff here lately has been how to initiate a conversation and how to try to create a safe space before any type of conversation would happen. I think that's key for me and my relationship, because a lot of times whenever I would bring a situation up, I could physically see her, her posture change, almost like she's ready for an altercation or she's ready to fend something off. And I've almost, detached myself almost instantly when I see that body language, and I don't approach it anymore. I literally just back away, and nothing really gets talked about. So that's, initiating the conversation has been kind of a goal of mine over the last couple of weeks. I've tried different things, tried to create a safe space where she does hopefully engage a little bit more in some genuine conversation.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. It also sounds courageous and edgy, because you're entering the field. I don't want to say battlefield, but you're entering a field. That. The one other thing I'm wondering is if she is exhausted and her stress go-tos are to be, mommy or daughter. I'm wondering about just asking her when she would like some time, some freedom to, without kids, to go away for an hour, to go away for an afternoon and just be in her flow with no time constraints. I have recently remembered that how women just can get so exhausted in the do mode. And for someone, it doesn't matter if you're the romantic partner, it doesn't matter what role, but to offer her, to remind her that she can take that space is a huge gift. And I wonder if putting that into the relationship space might have some really exponential results.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good point, because I feel like I have tried to, just the other day, I grabbed the kids and I threw them in the car and took them out for ice cream, and didn't tell her why I was doing it, but I knew she needed, she was on Zoom meetings all day, and I just said, hey kid, let's go, take this stuff to UPS and we'll stop and get some ice cream, and just try to give her that space without really announcing it. Do you think it's important that I communicate why I'm doing it? Or is that something that should just be done? Is that a leadership role that I should just take on?
That's a great question. I think, so I also see from a woman's perspective, for you to lay out on the table, this is what I would like to do, and I'd like you to be able to feel free. To me, that seems important, especially if you're practicing talking about the things that are not being said, even with the positives. And of course, none of us are doing that to be like, oh, tell me I'm doing great. It's just to say, hey, I would love to do this. And so we're heading out. And I love your description of just throwing the kids in the car. That was a great visual.
That's what happened.
Yeah, love it. So I'm going to jump in and give some feedback as well. I completely agree, Cynthia. Absolutely. Kent, that was phenomenal, just taking the kids. So what I'm hearing is there's you, there's her, and there's the relationship. So Cynthia was saying, considering her parts of the relationship, giving her that space, is that a good idea? Okay. And then you said, Kent, well, and I've been working on me and what I want, right? And then you shared how she's feeling about her own self as well. So there's really those three pieces within that dynamic, within that exchange that you and Cynthia just had, which is fantastic. And Ken, I want to honor that you don't have to necessarily say why you're doing it each time. It's not a question either. You can just say like, hey, I'm taking the kids to ice cream, sure. Or you could say, hey, I'm taking the kids to ice cream so you can have some space for yourself. Or you could say, I'd love for you to have some space for yourself, so I'm taking the kids for ice cream. I think all of those are great. And what's important to me, and what you saw in Cynthia as she was feeling into it, is that it's from your heart. It's from your heart, and you're not trying to get anything out of it. So if you're not really ready to say anything to her right now, like not even wanting to communicate, which a lot of guys are in that space, they either cannot or don't want, or she's requested they say nothing, then great, grab the kids, go in the car, right? If things have been going decently for you and you're trying to practice communication, and I'm going to share a screen here in a second, then you could say, hey, I'd love for you to have some alone time. I'm going to grab the kids. And then you turn and go. The point is, you're not like, I'm going to take the kids for ice cream. Like Cynthia was saying, please tell me that I'm doing a good job. Please tell me that, I'm being a good husband here, right? So how does that hit you when I lay those things out that way, Ken?
And I can, that last example, I could definitely see that in myself. Call it 5 to 7 years ago. That was me to a T. The last 6 months, I've kind of developed a, almost an, I don't give a, what attitude. And it's trying not to come off standoffish with it, but I'm being more decisive with my decisions. I'm being, I am honoring her space. And with that attempt to, take the kids for an hour, I wasn't looking for approval, and I see the difference between the two. And I'm always curious of how it's being received, I guess. And maybe I shouldn't worry about that, but that's where I'm at. And I'm, not really practicing the communication very well, because I am in that place where it's, I don't really want to some extent. We're not, it's not zero communication, but it's just, it's no extra communication, I guess. Let's put it that way.
Sure. I love that. That's fantastic, Kent. I'm going to put you on mute. That's a great segue. I want to share, this is a brand new screen today that Cynthia and I developed literally this morning about vision. How to practice a specific vision, how to practice what I want, how to practice what I want for a relationship. And Cynthia asked a moment ago, what do you feel her place in the relationship may be? And she's asking about in the relationship space, not for your wife as her own individual person, but within the relationship space. If we cannot foresee any space for her in the relationship, if we're just wanting nothing to do with her at this point, that's valid. Okay, that's valid. But let's honor that. Let's be honest about that. If we don't see any kind of space in relationship together, let's honor that. And maybe that's what she's feeling about us right now. Okay. And so the goal of this week is to flush out, then what? Then what do we do? Okay. How do we control what I said was my anger response or our shitty response, our run away, our shut down, our get angry? How do we identify that and change that, control that, so we can be the confident, calm man we want to be, so we can manifest the relationship that we want, and we can be on the adventure we want in our relationship in life? So I'm going to share this screen again. So we nailed this down to two things. Number one, what are my behavior patterns? Okay, what are my past behavior patterns? Your behaviors and actions in the world. And that's your behaviors, literally what you're doing. Walking away, taking a break, taking the kids to the park, taking the kids for ice cream, okay? Staying at work really, really long and coming home late. What are your behavior patterns? What are your communication patterns? And what actions are you taking on a daily basis? What's your morning routine? Are you making nasty faces at her? What are you literally doing? And the second thing is your being patterns, your mindset and your feelings. What are those? What are those feeling states? And we'll talk more about going on this week. Are those being the masculine, grounded, positive man you want to be? Or are those being more feminine energies, such as flow or wanting approval or wanting to connect? Okay. Those aren't bad or good. Masculine and feminine aren't bad or good. But if we're being the nice guy, if we're falling into unhealthy feminine too much, meaning if we're like, oh, you're not connecting with me and I want more. I want you to pander to me. Like, tell me that I'm okay. As a man, that's not going to create sexual polarity in your relationship. Okay, so we want to recognize these patterns. And I'm going to show a bit of a video here that talks about the drama triangle, how to identify our communication patterns. It's a phenomenal little video. And then we're going to move forward this week in building, how do we be the man that we want to be? How do we change to positive mindsets? And how do we practice being and feeling the way we want, okay? Almost regardless of how she's feeling or being now. Yeah, we're empathetic of her. We have compassion for her, but we're not allowing, if you will, her feminine storm, her upset, her want for space, her not wanting physicality or sex with us. How can we be the man we want to be through that storm? Even if our ship is headed toward the rocks, how do we course correct and be the man and have the behaviors that we want to have? Okay. So I'm going to share this video. I want to honor the men that have come on since: Walters and Todd, Rob, and Michael, and Dan. Phenomenal to see you guys. Absolutely. We'd love for you to raise your hand in the participant section of chat and ask a question or pose your situation. And so right now, everyone, guys, I want you to look at this video and look at, how do I come into communication? How do I argue? How do I try to solve things? Okay. Are you finding yourself in one of these points of the triangle? Right now, I'm going to share this. Here we go.
Conflict arises between people, often in dramatic or intense relationships or interactions. And it was conceived by a guy called Stephen Cartman in 1968. And it involves 3 different roles. One that's kind of called a one-down role, and 2 that are called one-up roles. These 3 roles are the victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. And I think understanding how these roles work can really help us to identify how we could be resolving potentially destructive interactions that are quite draining on our energy. So let's start with the victim role. And I think the victim role is quite self-explanatory. It's the person who feels helpless and powerless, like they can never cut a break or they can never get ahead in life. They often think things like, this always happens to me. Another role in this drama triangle is the rescuer. And this person is someone who takes responsibility for other people's problems, and they kind of make it their own problem. But at the same time, they don't really look at their own life, which could in fact be a complete mess. And they'll see people who might be going through a difficult time and think, oh, look at that person. They need help. I'm nice, so I'll help them. Or maybe something a bit more parental, like if that person did what I said, they'd be happy. And I think the dynamic that we often see play out between the victim and the rescuer is something that we see in movies and, romantic comedies all the time. It's something that we almost think is normal, but it really is an unhealthy interaction. So the third role in this triangle is the persecutor. This is a person who is frustrated. They're kind of self-righteous and a bit of a bully. And they might think things like, they're wrong and I'm right and they need to do what I say. Or that person will get what's coming to them. Another thing that's really important to recognize about this triangle is that each of these roles move between each other. So, the rescuer can become the persecutor, or the persecutor can become the victim, or the victim can become the persecutor. So they all kind of move around. Another concept that's really important to understand when talking about the drama triangle is this idea of the starting gate. We tend to have this one role that we most naturally sort of enter into. So, for instance, one person might often go straight to the victim role where someone else might jump into the rescuer role. And the other
Okay, I want to pause there for a moment. And I want you to ask yourself, what is my starting gate? And I'm going to bring up a picture of the drama triangle here in a moment. What is my starting gate? So if we're being Fonzie, if we're being the mountain lion, if we're being Gene Simmons, we're not doing the drama triangle. Okay, if we're being the calm, confident man that we want to be, we're not starting in one of the drama triangle corners. But what I want you to understand and point out for your own self right here, and I'm going to bring up a graphic, is what is my shitty starting gate? Here we go. Because knowing this is a gigantic leg up into fixing it and being in control in the moment. So here's the drama triangle. We've got the persecutor, which is the bully, blames others, criticizes, puts others down. Like, you should do better. I can't believe that you did this. Look at you. It's your fault. The rescuer is the nice guy, the martyr, gains self-esteem by helping, quote unquote, others when maybe they don't even need help, right? Tries to be considerate and selfless, feels the need to fix problems. Oh my gosh, right? Often feels like a failure when the other person complains. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I hadn't read those two lines right there. I grabbed this, and feels like the need to fix problems and often feels like a failure when the other person complains. Okay, I have a personal story about that from yesterday with my 16-year-old son, actually. And then on the bottom, feeling helpless, feel hopeless, trapped, guilty, powerless, seeks others to solve their problems, refuses to make decisions, refuses to seek professional help, and they're dependent on the other person. Yeah, we've got a bunch of actions in the chat. I'd love it. So type in the chat, or raise your hand if you want to share a story talking about victim being the starting gate, the rescuer, and the wife is the persecutor. Yeah, there's a gentleman in chat here too that said his wife is wanting safe space was to go no contact. His way of becoming in a safe space was to go no contact, especially in the beginning. It gave her the breathing room to open up to me again. And so sometimes that space is for their own selves, the woman or partner. And sometimes the space is so that we stop doing this drama triangle dance and jumping into our wherever our starting gate may be, and then moving into another role. So if you're welcome to take a screenshot of this, always, guys, I will put a copy of this within our private Facebook forum, the Great Men Move Mountains private Facebook group. So I will put this within the file section there. And if you're watching this and you want to be a part of our private Facebook group, go to our website, greatmenmovemountains.com/C-Note. That's the name of the show, C-Note. And down you can request access to our private Facebook group. You have to be personally invited in by Cynthia or myself. and you'll have to give us your Facebook email address, the login you use for Facebook specifically, and we can invite you in. We have over 100 men in there right now with phenomenal resources. It's free. We're happy for you to come in. So let me share this one more time. Yesterday with my son, he didn't do his chores, and all of a sudden he launched into the bully persecutor, like calling me names. I got called a cunt 5 times over the past 2 days, and I think asshole twice. And it was just all this, and you're self-righteous, you think you know everything. It was just this fucking barrage of personal attacks. And I mean, and so his mother and I split in 2015. So my son's mom is my now ex, of course. And where do you think that he learned a lot of these patterns? Sure, some from me, and hell yeah, some from his mom, which is she's just going to launch and go on the attack. And that's his shitty response. That's his starting gate, is to go into like the bully persecutor kind of situation. It's all your fault. And I was not going to be put into the role of the bad guy. I was not going to be made the villain, and I certainly wasn't going to be the victim. Okay. So if he starts saying, yeah, you this, you that, I'm not going to be the helpless, trapped, seek to solve his problems for him victim. I'm not going to do that. Right. What I said was, I can see you're upset. You must do your chores before you go see your friends. And now that there's this personal attack, I'm going to take away, and there's the punishment that's coming. I'm going to take away your technology. Okay. And we could talk more about that, but I want to talk about the drama triangle, which is, it's just like, he cunts in my face, you asshole, blah. And of course my pulse is going, am I really under any physical safety threat? No. Okay. He can say whatever he wants to say. There will be consequences for that. He's not going to just get away with it. But in the moment, there's no way for me to like stop him from saying these things. He has free will, right? So there'll be consequences. But my role, my job is to not dance in the drama triangle with him. So he comes in as the persecutor. I'm not going to take up the hat of the victim or the rescuer. I'm not going to say, oh, well, how can I fix oh, I'm so sorry that you're so mad, and I'm doing this because blah, blah. Like, no, I'm your father. I'm helping you learn to be an adult in the world. You're 16. This is something you need to be responsible for. I get that you're totally mad. Okay. So let's take a break. Gave him 20 minutes, came back, and that's when I took his technology away. Okay. I didn't try to do the punishment right there. It's a similar thing in a relationship. So when if our spouse is escalated in our face, that's not when we're trying to stack multiple things. We're not trying to stack what's wrong and share where I'm coming from and what are we going to do next. We don't want to stack. Let's just be with her emotion right now. Okay, so Cynthia, I'd love for you to unmute yourself and share. So if a woman's upset and I say, don't stack what's going on for her, and then my own wants in that moment, and then the relationship wants in the moment, right? There's me, there's her, and there's a relationship. We don't want to stack multiple energies in that segment of time. So give us some feedback. How does it come across if a man is trying to like mansplain? That's what mansplaining is trying to bring in all this logic, first of all, okay? And if he's also saying, well, this is what I'm going through, and let's talk about the relationship, trying to stack multiple things. What goes on in a woman's body and in a woman's energy and feelings and mind when a man does that? Please.
Sure. So yes, when she's trying to explain something from a very emotional place, and I kind of pause before that because I was just feeling into all that you might be hearing, and all the energy you're receiving, to in that moment to try to put logic around it, or to try to ask her to be in a logical place. Number one, she doesn't feel heard. It's going to be confusing and frustrating for her. And again, I know she could be saying things that are, along the caliber of what Jeff received from his son, but I can reference back to my dad, who was an incredible lawyer and very in tune to people. And again, I remember him sitting at the kitchen table and me standing and me trying to I'm giving him, I'm emotionally telling him what's going on in my world, my reasons for why I did something. And he wanted logic. He wanted facts. And his needing logic and facts for me, I couldn't give it to him in that moment. And I felt his distrust of me, as if I wasn't speaking the truth, or as if I was hiding something from him, or I was being overly dramatic or making things up. And that feels so disempowering. And again, this is not to say I want women to gain a sense of empowerment by saying really mean things, but that was my experience. And then when, if a woman's emoting to you, she's doing that because things have built up in her body, and she already feels like there's 50 things she's managing all at once, and 10 things over here you don't even realize that she's managing for the relationship, and 10 things over here, and all the things in her environment that are talking to her that she should be doing or doing better. And so in that moment, if you're offering, okay, but this is what I need, it just feels like 10 more things on top of that. And to me, that then produces such collapse and overwhelm and frustration and whatever. Or I would imagine that some women, this is she feels like you're putting things on her. And so all the reactions she might have with that.
Yeah, she feels like putting things on her. The overwhelm, the just desire to move into logic is not going to connect with a woman. Okay, that's the whole you can either be right or you can be happy saying, which is a bit simplistic. But if we're trying to be right and just drive home a logical point, it is the opposite of connection. I love that story that Cynthia was sharing, and I'm actually going to use that to segue into another tool I want to share here today about awareness. And then, gentlemen, I'm going to show you a brief overview of, what do we do about this? Okay. And that's going to set us up for the rest of the week as well. So we're showing you, and we want you to be aware of your shitty starting gate in the drama triangle. We want you to be aware of what you're doing so you can stop it. Okay. And then we're going to show you, what do I do? How do I move forward? And we're going to I'll give you some flashes of that today, and we'll build that tomorrow and ongoing for the rest of the week. Okay. So here's a tool. We've shared this once or twice over the past 6 weeks we've ran this show, and I want to use this again for what Cynthia just talked about. So what's the pattern? What's my shitty pattern? Okay, what's my starting gate in the drama triangle? Where did I learn this? Who did I see this from? Who modeled this for me in my life? It's generally mom or dad or someone very close to us in childhood. Okay? So, or someone we look up to, or, grandma, grandpa, their relationship. Where did I learn this? Who taught this to you? Meaning, where did I see it? So I can understand, who does this sound like when I go into those shitty patterns? Who do I sound like when I'm in that space? Okay. We're all probably very aware of this without even really knowing it. So when I'm saying this right now, you're probably like, yep, that sounds just like my dad, or yep, that sounds just like this other important person in my life or in my childhood. And here's a really key one. So Cynthia, I'm going to ask you this question. Why do you think they acted that way? Why did they teach that to you, either actively or passively? So why do you think your father acted in that way? Do you think it was malicious? Or do you think it was because he was trying to do something good? Why do you think that he came across that way, and that's what he was teaching you through his actions?
Oh yeah, he was trying to protect me and help me function in the world. And he, in his job, saw in very real way how important it is to be able to not speak from emotion, right? Because if you're on the witness stand and you are react in an emotional way, that could be really, really bad for you. So he saw what emotion caused people to do in life and how it kind of changed the trajectory of their life in a different way. So he wanted to keep me safe and logical and to think about things in a logical way.
Mm. Yeah, absolutely. So as gentlemen, as you're watching this, you're probably thinking, wow, that's the person in my childhood that I am doing these shitty patterns. I learned that, I saw that. So now I understand. Well, now it's my responsibility to change that. Okay. And our last question on this one tool is, when will I be ready to let go of this? When will I be ready to let go of that old shitty pattern of the way that I'm being? Right? And that's a really important question. That would be something that I would write down in my one sentence journal in the morning. I want to show that tool again really fast. Our kingly journey, our morning kingly plan, right? We've talked about this many times on the show. When you're sitting on your throne in the morning, you've got a few minutes to do your kingly plan. And what doesn't work for me? Number 4 here, what shitty pattern have I been doing that doesn't work for me? And what's the opposite of that? What do I want? That's something you can think about or write in a journal or a one sentence journal. Absolutely. And I promised I want to share. So here's the drama triangle, and here's the triangle that lays on top of that. So on the bottom, you'll see this. I'll share this in our private Facebook group as well, Great Men Move Mountains. On the bottom, the DDT means dreaded drama triangle, and the TED means the empowerment dynamic. And so as you saw, the drama triangle points down with the victim on the bottom. Like, we all eventually can fall into victim. Oh, you're right. I'm such a bad person. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'm such a bad guy. I bully you. Yeah, you're right. I get so angry all the time. Everything's my fault. I can't do anything right. Okay, that's the victim. Right? We all can fall into the victim, certainly. And on top of that lays the empowerment dynamic. And we'll talk about this over the week as well, of challenger, coach, and creator. Okay? And it says these roles are passion-based and outcome-focused. Where we want to go. What's our vision? Passion-based is like from our guts, from our heart, from our soul. And how do we want to go? It's vision-based. And this is something we'll develop over the week as well, of exactly how to have that vision of the behavior patterns and the being patterns as we've been developing here today. Right? How to practice specific vision. There's behavior patterns, and then there's the being patterns of our feeling states, our mindsets, and are we being the masculine man that we want to be, that's compassionate and grounded, or are we falling into too much femininity if that's going to kill sexual polarity within the relationship? Okay, so we'll talk about that as we go throughout the week. So we have about 3 minutes left before the end of our show today. I've decided I want to keep these tight to 60 minutes. And then I'll stay on, and I hope Cynthia can as well if she has time, to stay on for about 15 minutes after the show. So gentlemen, you can come on, ask questions, and that way it gives an opportunity for anybody that has not spoken up, or if you feel, if you're a little shy and you don't want to come on the show, but you still want to speak up, or if you have questions about what we talked about today, stay on the show, okay? And so to finish up our show today, I want to share a clip from Happy Gilmore. It's called Cut and Dumped. And Happy Gilmore doesn't really handle things super well, okay? And I want you to look at the dynamics that are going on here, and maybe how he deals with things are not the most happy way to deal with them, not the most healthy way to deal with them. So Cynthia, let's honor our men, and I'll share our closing credits and then show our Happy Gilmore clip.
Ken, I love your reaction when Jeff pulls up the videos you love. He's like, yes! I go like this when I see all of you. I so appreciate everything that you've shared. And this stuff, it's like everyone has these parts in them. It's the human thing to be. And we become wizards with this when we just know how to name it. So I am honored to be here, and in deep reverence for all that you share and all that you are. And thank you so very much.
Thank you, Cynthia. I'm honored to be here with you men as well. This has been the C Note Show, brought to you by Great Men Move Mountains and greatmenmovemountains.com. If you don't have our free audiobook yet with the free 13-page PDF ebook accompaniment that comes with it, it's 2 mouse clicks to get those after you quickly put in your information, and go to greatmenmovemountains.com/free audiobook and put in your information, and you get instant access to those. You can listen immediately. You can download the 45-minute free audiobook immediately and the 13-page accompaniment that has tools that go along with it as well. Again, you can always request to be part of our private Facebook group, or you can join us on our show here every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. Mountain Time for the C Note Show. So thank you for being everybody. Here we go. Some Happy Gilmore.
Number 16. They saw my power, man. Ain't no way they're going to dog me this year. Number 9 and number 43. The rest of you, if your number wasn't called, better luck next year.
Oh, hey, Coach. What's going on here, man? What about me?
Gilmore, I called your number, didn't I?
No, you didn't.
Oh. Well, better luck next year. No, that wasn't very nice.
Hey, where you going? I got a Subway.
I already ate.
Yeah, well, I went to high school with a guy who worked there, so we got extra meatballs. Can you just stick around? I kind of had a rough day.
Bye.
When are you getting back?
Never.
Terry, wait! Wait! Hold on a second, babe.
Yeah,
You're not going for good, are you, honey?
you're going nowhere, Happy, and you're taking me with you. All you ever talk about is being a pro hockey player, but there's a problem. You're not any good.
I am good. You know what? You're a lousy kindergarten teacher. I've seen those finger paintings you bring home and they suck.
I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that. I think they're excellent finger paintings. Please, don't go.
I am not spending the rest of my life with a loser. I'm gone.
Good, then get the hell out of my life. Who needs you? Beat it. Leave me alone.
I'm sorry, babe. I didn't mean that either. I just yell sometimes because I get so scared. Scared of being a nobody. Why don't you just come back upstairs, honey? I'll give you the old smoochy smoo, kissy wissy. I wanna kiss you all over and over and again. I wanna kiss you all over. Dun, dun, dun. To the night closes in. To the night closes in. Terry.
Oh my gosh. Love Happy Gilmore. Have a fantastic rest of your Monday, guys. If you'd like to stay around, I'll hang out for another 15 minutes if you want to ask questions of me or Cynthia. Otherwise, thank you for being on our show today. Phenomenal.
Bye.
All right, cool. I'm driving. So, well, it was a very timely topic because my wife and I have had several conversations, some of which you know, but as of over the weekend, she officially said she wants a divorce. So we're talking now about how to kind of handle the separation and with the kids. And so I'm kind of looking for advice on how to really dig down on the plan for me, but also to, I don't know that it's really salvageable at this point, but what I do want to do is continue to show up strong for my kids and strong for her, and kind of not cling to hope, but just be realistic.
Sure. So I'm totally happy to talk about this, Dan. Obviously, it's a giant situation. First of all, I'm so sorry you have to be in this spot, man. That's shit.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's rough. It's rough.
Yeah. So what might be one question, or what's your biggest fear right this moment, or when you wake up in the morning, what's racing in your mind? What would help you just take one step forward here today?
I think the biggest thing for me is, I know when we talked about it yesterday, kind of my emotional response was fight or flight. And we've been through a few rounds of this, but it was in flight mode where I want to have as little contact as possible with her. And, if she's really done, I want her to move out. But I'm trying to temper my emotions on that. And so we're trying to figure out sleeping arrangements within the house and, what that looks like and kind of what our day-to-day routine looks like. Because we've been together, even though we've been drifting for months and we've been quote unquote separating. This is official now. So it's how to mentally prepare for that and kind of action steps to take to put that into reality and not have it be really awkward while we figure out the logistics.
Yeah, that's a great question. So this week we're talking specifically about exactly tools for this. So that's cool.
That's timely.
Yeah, I mean, and we're going to be doing a special Sunday show this coming Sunday as well on this topic. That's one thing. But I would ask you, so the day-to-day is where you are right this second. And what's the most important thing for you and your family day-to-day right now?
I think it's me being able to be mentally and emotionally strong and being present. And I think what I've been struggling with today, especially, is being present. I think I was, spending time with my kids. She went to spend last night at a girlfriend's house with her son. So it was nice. I actually reconnected with my kids and we had a nice night. We'd made a fire and did marshmallows and jumped on the trampoline and it felt really good. And I kind of put a to-do list together, but today I've struggled to be present and I found that I've been in my head more and that's what I want to avoid.
Yeah. So and this is a real question. So why do you want to be present?
Well, I want to be present for my kids. I want to continue to bond and grow with them, especially if it's going to be the three of us. And I want to be present too, because that was an issue throughout our relationship at times where I would get caught in my head or I'd be, I wasn't fully grounded. And that was not the issue, but that was a issue that I faced.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a recognition of, I don't want to be that man the bad patterns that I had in the past, right? So maybe some shame or guilt around that, first of all, right? I fully agree that being present for your kids is hugely important. And, that's my value. I didn't want to put my value onto you, Dan, right? So that's what you just said as well. And so what are you afraid of? What's the number one fear right this second?
My number one fear is disrupting my kids' lives more. And, I'm actually afraid of being alone, even though what we've been going through hasn't been healthy. I think I'm afraid of that feeling. And so that's why I want to really make sure that I'm grounded. So kids are okay. They have a rock and kind of move past that feeling because this is going to be a big adjustment.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to give you my thoughts, and for the sake of time, I want to give you this today. I'm happy to talk with you more. Absolutely. Right. Of course. Happy to have you post on the forum. You're on the forum, Dan? Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Awesome. So one encouragement I would have is day to day, first of all. Okay. Binoculars are off your face and you're taking it day to day. You want to be present. So I'm breathing into my belly. I'm aware if I'm getting upset. I'm not trying to talk my way through it right this moment, because the best thing you can do is to not make giant mistakes of having arguments or trying to logic your way through things right now with her, and to be more present for your kids and from your stomach, from your heart, from your chest, from your soul, right? And then the next thing is to know, so I want you to write this down. Okay, there's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Okay, being alone is just the act of I'm alone in the house, or it's just the physical reality of being alone, not with another person. Being lonely is the feeling of despair. It could slip into neediness. It could slip into coping and numbing mechanisms, right? Like drinking or smoking or those kind of things. So there's a big difference. And I want you to write down, make a T-chart, and write down lonely and alone, because those are very different things. Okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Yep. And what I want, so what does that mean to me? Just flush it out. What does that mean to me to be alone versus lonely? And what do I want for my own self right now and going forward? Okay. So that's what I want you to focus on today, is the difference between alone and lonely, and to know you won't be alone for the rest of your life. I absolutely promise you, no man that's done this work has ever stayed alone. You're going to be the top 1% of men in the world having done this work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
So I just want you to, I can just say that now. You may not fully believe me, but that's why you're here, is you will not be alone for the rest of your life. I promise you. Okay.
Yeah, no, I do know that. I believe that. I know right now that's kind of the long shot. I'm going through the feeling of loss and gearing up for a tough couple of months and potentially moving or helping her move. You know, we haven't decided that. But I know that now I don't want that kind of painful reminder of kind of her pulling away and the rejection that I've been going through. And I really just want to focus. I think that's a really good exercise, because I know last night I felt alone and felt good. Like
exactly. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
Like I wasn't mad or anything. I just was like, all right, I'm going to do what I want, you know, and I had great presence with the kids. But I know today when I woke up, I felt lonely. You know, I felt a little lost, and I knew she was coming home, and, you know, we still had barbecue plans, and so it was a shift. So that actually is a good exercise to work on.
Good. Yeah. No, you don't need to know in your mind, you don't need to be forced into anything. Like, you don't need to be forced into some big conversation. You can use the tools of, hey, that's important to me. I'll think about that. I'll come back to you on that. You don't need to be forced in anything right now. Yeah.
You coached me on that, and I used that yesterday when we were having the conversation, because she's very much, once she's made her mind up, tries to frame everything. And, you know, she was pushing for a decision, and I said, I'm not making a decision right now. I'll come back to you in 24 hours.
Yeah.
And then she relented and went, okay, I'll respect that. But she was trying to bully me into decisions that I wasn't comfortable making at that moment.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So Dan, I'm going to mute you for a second. I want to honor Todd, and Todd's had his hand up for a while, and Walter just put his hand up. And Rob, Dan, if you and Rob in private chat to each other want to exchange phone numbers, or over Facebook Messenger, if you don't want to share phone numbers, over Facebook Messenger in the Facebook group, you know, because Rob said he's in the same boat, right? And so part of this community is to talk with other men that are going through the same stuff and to support each other if that's what you both want to do. So I just want to put that out there. Okay. So Dan, thank you so much. Dan, you know that your wife's, number one, her personality, but also her past traumas really push her into masculine. And that's why I said, don't feel like you need to be forced into deciding something right in the moment. So Cynthia, if you want to just say a few words, please, about that and Dan's situation, and how his wife is responding, and maybe just like the top one thing he needs to know for the next couple of days to be aware of. And then I want to open up for Todd and Walters if we have time today, brother. Go ahead, Cynthia.
So Dan, I love how yesterday, you didn't allow her masculine to lead. I think that's incredible. I also wanted to say your certainty about you're not going to be alone forever. I can feel that, because I felt myself as a woman, I felt my attraction toward your presence. So I know there's still a road to go down, but I'm excited for you for what all this work you've done will lead to. And I guess the last piece is that I know that feeling of waking up and feeling alone. Sometimes writing down the plan you have for your following day, or the intention you have for your following day, creates a automatic momentum toward the next day when things are rather rough and ragged. So I just wanted to offer that might be a way to move through that feeling in the mornings.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Cynthia. Super appreciate it. Fantastic. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Bye now.
I'ma tell you about a woman who's cold as tundra with some frozen eyes. I can tell by the way she